So talk to me about working on Schitt's Creek and how the role of Twyla came to you.
I mean, Schitt's Creek was it's wild that it's the 10th anniversary this year of our first season. And it just feels like an out-of-body experience almost at this point, because it was an idea that my brother came to my dad with, and the two of them, worked on a pilot. And the pilot presentation, we shot a pilot presentation, about a 17-minute presentation that Catherine was in it, my brother, my dad, I was in it, and everybody else was same characters, but different cast. And the character the Twyla I was originally playing, was a very different character.
Really? In what way?
Yeah. She worked at a nail salon with her mom, and she was just sad. and she didn't know she was sad, but she didn't have the warmth and energy that the Twyla that came to be had.
Okay.
Just sort of downtrodden and a little, I think, just kind of depressed. This idea that people were living in this small town was like a depressing thing.
Right.
And what I loved so much about what Schitt's Creek ended up being was that there was no shame in being from a small town. And it's not like everyone was depressed just because they knew they were in a small town. That's all they knew. And so there's, joy and positivity and happiness in your life, no matter where you are.
Yeah.
And yeah, my brother and my dad, when they were writing it, came to me and said, we have this part that we think that you'd be specifically right for. Is that something you would even want to do?
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I jumped at the opportunity because I had just moved to LA and I was trying to make my way, beginning a career.
Right.
And I thought, yeah, sure, we do this. And, then nothing's probably gonna
come from it. Yeah.
So sure, like that'll be fun. And it'll be really fun to work with my dad and my brother, and great. And what a fun, cool experience to have. And even when we took it, when its first season aired in 2015, it had a huge push in Canada.
Yeah.
Press-wise. But no one in the States knew it existed. And it was on pop from the beginning. But again, like, what is...
I know, like, as an American who has worked in Canada so much at this point and married a Canadian, I feel like I should have known about it. But then I finally did and was like, how did I not know about this? Like, my Canadian family, didn't tell me. Yeah, it's crazy. And but then what was the shift that finally got the United States talking about it? Was it purely word of mouth?
In my opinion, it was Netflix. And I only say that because 10 years ago, or 9 years ago, 8 years ago, maybe, it just wasn't what it is now, and streaming wasn't what it was now. So Netflix was it felt like a bit of a novelty, and everyone wanted to watch it, and it had great shows, and not to say that it doesn't now.
It is different. There's a lot of content. I feel like there's less content now than there was 5 years ago.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. There's a lot of content, and it's hard to get quality control over so much of that content, especially when it's not original anymore.
Right.
It's,
acquisitions and things. Yeah.
Yeah. So I felt like nobody had pop in the States, it felt like, and nobody got CBC in Canada, like outside of Canada.
Right.
So it brought it to a whole other viewing level. And I think that started in, I think, our third season, but it really wasn't even until maybe our fifth that we started to, fourth, fifth, that we started to really gain traction. And I think the Emmy nominations were the fifth season. And that was like, sorry, what?
The fifth season.
What? Like an Emmy nomination for this?
Yeah.
And not to say that, I'm not saying it was because it's bad. It's just, we were so used to, we shot it in Toronto and outside Toronto. We were in our own little bubble for 3 months, and you kind of don't understand where it's going or how far it's reaching until something like that, where all of a sudden, Daniel kept saying like, well, we're doing an Emmy campaign. We're really going to try. We don't have any money, but we're going to, we're just going to get creative with it and see what sticks. And I thought like, yeah, I mean, great. Go for it.
Yeah, fun.
You. And sure enough, and then COVID was like, moved the needle all the way over. And we all know, going through really difficult times, we turn to things that give us comfort. And that's what Friends is for me.
Yeah.
And I think that's what really put it over the edge. Sense. And knowing that we had already wrapped the series by the time it had aired.
Oh, really?
Any nominations had come were long after. We wrapped June 2019 and the Emmys were September 2020. Like,
oh my God. So it was like done.
Totally done for over a year.
But what a great end of the chapter for you guys.
I know. It was so unexpected. It was so unexpected. And I know Daniel said this before, but the idea that when a show gets successful early on, there's a lot of pressure to maintain that success. And also I would imagine it would be hard not to be swayed by what fans want to see when you're writing.
Yeah.
And when you don't have that pressure, you can write what you want and the story you want to tell. And you don't have to worry about satisfying everyone, because it's ultimately what's truest to the story you want to tell.
Yeah. Yeah, you're absolutely at that point. It's such a blessing that it happened the way that it did, because there's 1,000,000% the network would have been much more involved. And because once somebody has a hit, that's when they start to over control it, and all of the things that made it special to begin with start to get stripped away because that they're ruling so differently.
Yeah. And what I saw was that Canada really, it landing in Canada was the best case scenario. And I think they had shopped it around the States, got no's from everybody.
Weird.
And I think there might have been a little disappointment that it didn't. They didn't, and it didn't go to what they initially wanted it to go to, an NBC and ABC, whatever network.
Yeah,
they took it to, but it really was best case scenario, because CBC was wonderful, gave them free reign with like 0 notes.
Yeah,
and allowed them to make a show they wanted to make without interfering. And that never would have happened in the States.
No. You would have had 20 hours of phone calls and Zooms about your hair.
Yeah. The music, the outfits, the makeup, the everything. And I get why, but it just it was just its own little like gem that could live and breathe.